rates and unit rates. First, let's look at rates. Let's check out the definition for rates. A rate is a ratio of different units. In other words, a rate is a ratio of a quantity per another quantity, and those two quantities have different units. So let's look at some examples of rates. Let's say we have 60 miles and 3 hours, and we want to write that as a rate. Well, we have 60 miles per 3 hours. So let's say we got 60 miles per 3 hours. Here we have this relationship set up as a rate. We have two quantities being put as a ratio, one quantity divided by the other quantity, and those two quantities have different units, miles and hours. So think of this like driving a car. You can drive a car 60 miles per 3 hours. Now let's look at another example. Let's say we have 40 words per 2 minutes. This you can think of like typing speed. You can type 40 words per 2 minutes. Here again, we have a ratio of two quantities, 40 and 2. And each of those quantities has different units, words and minutes. So remember, a rate is simply a ratio of quantities that have two different units. Now that we know a little bit more about rates, let's check out unit rates. A unit rate is a rate that has a denominator of 1. So if you have a rate just like one of these, except the denominator, the bottom number, is 1, then you have what's called a unit rate. Let's look at a couple examples of unit rates. Let's see. Let's compare 20 miles and 1 hour. So we'd write it like this. We'd have 20 miles per 1 hour. This looks just like the rates we were working with before, except here, our denominator has a 1 in it. Here again, we have two quantities as a ratio, and they have two different units, miles and hours. So here we have 20 miles per 1 hour. Now we can also rewrite this to look like this. 20 over 1 can be rewritten as 20. Then we look at our units. We have miles per hour. So we can write those as a fraction that looks like this. Miles per hour, with a fraction line in the middle. Now you always want to make sure to keep these units separated correctly. So miles needs to be in the numerator. So we have miles per hour. So now we have 20 miles per 1 hour is the same thing as 20 miles per hour, which is probably how you're used to seeing it. A car going, say, 20 miles per hour. Now let's look at one more example of unit rate. Let's say we have 20 words per 1 minute. So it would look like this. Again, it looks like a normal rate, except here, in the denominator, our quantity is 1. So that means we have a unit rate. We have 20 words per 1 minute. Now we can also rewrite this. 20 over 1 is the same as 20. Words over minutes means that we have words per minute. So that would be something like saying you could type 20 words per minute. So now we know a little bit more about